Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life podcast. Austin Linney here. Guys, you might feel the fire come out of the Zoom call into your ears because this man right here, we got on one phone call and we were talking. I don't know where we went. We went in a million different places. But Mr. Billy Anderson, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
So he's got a company called GoFresh. So many things. You're an entrepreneur. I think you got like 30 businesses. I don't even know how much you got, but it wasn't all roses and great stuff. So what I like to do with my guests is I like to let them start where they want to, and then we kind of let the story go from there. So why don't you head out and tell everybody about yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Billy Anderson. Like you said, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area in the suburbs. And grew up, middle-class family. Both my parents were workers. My parents ran a construction company and then eventually rolled that into a home inspection company. So my dad was an entrepreneurial type person, but he was always self-employed. So learned a lot from that. He was always scared to hire on people because it could jeopardize the quality. But I also saw on the other side of that where he became a slave to his business, where when he didn't work, he didn't make money. So as a kid, I was the youngest of three children. And so when I was in high school, I was playing competitive basketball and I'd travel and we'd have to leave on Thursday and Friday. I'd see my parents not make money. And that was a thing that I realized real quickly that there would be a conversation that they would often have. And I realized, wow, for me to create real freedom, it comes from leveraging, a team and building an organization. And you can either be fearful of mistakes that they make, or look at the positive of how you can create freedom and create this great life for them and yourself. And so that really kind of set me on the journey of like, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I want to do it different than my dad. I love my parents and they taught me so many amazing things. My mom was the most encouraging person in the world. So taught me, and that's most this energy comes from my mom instilling me that like you can actually do anything. And so I took that drive from sports and saw the other side of business. And I said, hey, I don't want to do it like that. I want to go build a big organization. And so I kind of went on the journey of trying to do that. I did everything from clothing to solar to cannabis. Let's see what else, technology. I did a bunch of different things in amongst those spaces. We did e-commerce back in like 2007. So I've been in and out of many different things and I just kind of kept going through these different hurdles and I just tasted everything. And so my 20s were a lot of just trying things. And that's what I really learned was like, just keep on trying. Like you'll find your groove. And food was never the place that I thought I would find my groove, but all these lessons learned in these other businesses where I did have some success, things were bubbling, but never boiling. And it was taking all those lessons learned and just building and taking that pattern recognition to start to learn and develop what works, what doesn't work. And that allowed me to launch GoFresh. And then from GoFresh, everything kind of evolved from there and have been able to launch more successful businesses and help other people create really successful businesses. But, like you said, it hasn't always been rosy and sunshine. And so really, I guess where we can start is, there was a period, I don't know if we talked about this, but kind of like where everything dropped. I lost everything. I got sued by Foot Locker. I literally like lost everything. My family, I lost my friends because I grew up in the Bay Area, like I said, and I was in this period where I'd burned I didn't want to say burned, but I'd lost this money from a few of my very close friends. I lost my parents' money because my parents had invested, and I thought I was this massive failure. And I had some previous success. I'd made six figures as in my early 20s and thought, wow, like I got it. I had the nice car, and it was a real humbling moment to realize like, success without like the proper structure is just like it's a ticking time bomb. It's waiting to come crumbling down. And that was like really the lessons learned. So I don't know where you want to go from there, but no,
I love it.
There's so much that in there. So
there's so much. One of the greatest quotes I heard a couple of days ago was, there's a lot of people that want to spend $1 million. There's not a lot of people that want $1 million.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of people, especially because I talk to a lot of agents, like powerful agents, they get a lot of success in their early career and they wound up like getting over their skis or losing it all. And then when they rebuild it the second time, it's so much better. It's built on a stronger foundation. But where I want to stick with that story is because you explained to me, like, opposed to losing the money of your friends and your family, but you also lost the will inside of yourself. There was a lot of smoke and weed and just not really doing any much. So just kind of talk about those times and how you can kind of get down and you almost lose your, like, this passion. You can feel it. I mean, obviously that was probably not there in those moments.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, I literally would wake up and it was just straight to smoking weed and watching TV and like, I think inside of me, I still had that, but I was like, I mean, I had a college degree at the time and I was like, I can't get a job anywhere. Like in my head, like I have little to no real world experience. I mean, I had worked city government and stuff like that, but like no corporate America type job experience. Yeah, I have this degree, but I literally just thought like nobody will hire me. I thought so low myself. And one day my ex-girlfriend, who was my girlfriend at the time, she told me, she's like, you just gotta do something. Like you gotta figure something out. Mm-hmm. And I went and got a job at In-N-Out Burger. Like I went from, having this college degree where so many people, that really is the entry level into the next level of their life or the ticket into the next level of their life. And for me, it was like, that didn't mean anything to me. I was looking at my last thing that I had done and defined me in my mind. And, and this is really where I've learned that like forward progress is really the greatest thing. Like you have to just, no matter what's going on in your life, you have to continue to move forward. And in that moment of going and getting that job, that was me moving forward. Because when you're not doing anything, going and getting a job, even working part-time at a fast food joint is moving forward, Mm-hmm. And so that started to get things going for me. And I started I literally day one, and still a very good friend of mine, his name's Josh Hicks, runs an amazing company called T-Log out of Southern California now. And he and I, entrepreneur now, he and I both worked at In-N-Out together. And I remember I walked in the back, and I think at the time he was involved in like Primerica or something. So he was all into personal development, and he had a John C. Maxwell book. And I was like, dude, you and I are going to be friends. This is day one, right? It was like a sign, right? And so, he was really into personal development. So it got me back on like that path. Like, hey, I need to pick back up the books. I need to get back onto that. Because I was in a network marketing company in my early 20s. And so that was something that was like, it was there. Like, it not like I hadn't really built the foundation, but I had the books, right? And so I was like, I need to get back to reading. I know that John C. Maxwell guy. I've seen some of his videos. I need to get back reading. So that got me back reading. And then just seeing people, just these little exposures of like, man, this is not the type of job I want. Like this, and I really did at a moment, like In-N-Out, they pay their managers great money. I have friends that are managers at In-N-Out, and they make a very healthy income, multiple six-figure income with bonuses and all that kind of stuff, and plus all the perks of working for a very good company. But you constantly have to work in the fast food industry. You basically are working Friday, Saturday, and Sundays for the rest of your life. You smell like burgers. Like, there's a downside, right? And then just like, is that the environment I wanted to be in? And no knock on the company. It's a phenomenal company, but it got the movement going. And it is a very positive based company. So they had gears towards growth and development. And that's really just where everything kind of just started going from there.
It's interesting. When you talked about, you see that guy with that book, I do that when I'm in airports and you see some, like one of those books and you're like, oh, that person's, they're going somewhere. Oh. But more importantly, because I lost myself in my alcohol addiction and my meth addiction, right? But the information that I learned as a 17-year-old from Rich Dad Poor Dad never left me. Yeah, I lost my way. Yep. So it's almost the way you're describing it, you have to rediscover your way. And maybe it takes being around somebody else to spark that light again.
Yeah, I think sometimes we want to go like try something new, like when we're in a rut in life, like, oh, we got to try something new. Sometimes you just got to get back on the old path. Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes you just sat down on the bench and like the path is right in front of you, but we want to go like way through the weeds and through all this other shit to get to this other path. But the actual path that we can get back on and get that forward progress, sometimes it's right in front of us. And, taking that note is like, I don't know, somebody in the network marketing company I was in, that he used to say, once your mind is expanded, it can never go back.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying on stage, he's like, once you hear this speech today, understand that if you do not take this and put action into your life, like this will be with you forever. Like you can never unlearn this. It's whether or not you use these tools. And it's powerful.
Well, it's interesting. 2 points for that. One, my coaching client last night was talking to me about how him and his wife were crushing it in 2016 when they were doing vision boards. And he's like, we're sitting here thinking, well, we're not doing those now. I guess this, and I'm like, well, it's right in front of you, right? But what's important, and something I'm on right now with everybody, because, everybody wants to invest and everybody wants to do this. But my question to you is, all the work and the sweat that you put in to get this at the pinnacle of your job or your company, have you maximized out everything that you could do before you move on to the next thing, right? Have you maximized every dollar or every avenue? Because everybody's so quick with the shiny object syndrome. But like, have you maximized? You probably left some stuff on the table, right? And that's in health, that's in relationships, that's in life in general. Have you maximized your day?
Yeah. And it's very true. I think entrepreneurs, the biggest downfall to being an entrepreneur, or even starting to have some success in even a side hustle, is you're like, well, I could do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. And we start doing all these different things, and we don't really maximize. And like, I like to say, like, wring the sponge out. Like, did you really get all the water out? We had a managers meeting with our retail team yesterday, all of our retail stores. And one of them was like, hey, this lady is like really adamant about, we need to expand in this market. And like, we need to open a store there. Well, she's a real estate agent, right? Like she's the leasing agent of the center. Like, of course she's trying to get me to move in the center. This has been like 2 years straight. Super nice lady, right? But she's like, I really think we need to, go into this market. We need to go into this market. And I'm like, but have we really, really gotten everything we can from the current market right now? Like, no, like we still have, before we expand in this other city. And so often people want to expand, but they haven't really exhausted their marketing efforts or exhausted their, everything that's in that opportunity. And so we end up continuously pushing more money out, or more time, or more energy. And the return on investment is very minimal comparison to what we can get.
Perfect example. My new coaching client last night wants to get an investment. She makes really good money, right? And this could go for everybody, right? I said, yeah, but if you paid off this debt that you're paying per month, I can't find you a vehicle, meaning Airbnb, real estate, or a business that you could make a better return on your investment. And sometimes the best return on our investment is sitting right in front of us.
Yes, right. And sometimes it's the simple thing is the best thing, instead of making it this shiny object challenging. Like, let's go start an Amazon automated store. That's all fine and dandy, right? I'm not discouraging that. But if you have debt, if you have these other things, these like just monstrous interest rates, like get that off, take care of that. That's a better investment. But we want to focus on making money, and like it's the same thing with like, I used to do a ton of, I still do some day trading, but I used to trade options like left and right. And this was 2018. And I'm like 6 months into it, I was like, oh my gosh, I lost 50% of the money I put in. Like, and I thought this was the thing that was supposed to make me money. Like I am. And then I looked at my other account that I had just sitting, and it was just like automating. Like I was putting like $15 a week or whatever. And it had like, made like 20%, return. I was like, oh my God. Like sometimes it's the easy, less sexy thing is the best thing. We all want, and the internet, it makes the sexy thing the most appealing thing in life. But like, just like when you were dealing in those tough times, like the simple little actions of reading the book, listen to podcasts like this, hiring a coach, those little simple actions are what creates the greatest success, not chasing all these different things. Because there's a million different opportunities out there, and any one of them is a good opportunity. But it's about the opportunity that you stick with and you maximize.
Yeah, and Ryan Breedwell, my financial advisor in the area, he lives in Carmichael. He said the number one problem with people is that they set a plan and they don't stick with it. And his thing is like, it takes 20 years, it takes 30 years. But something I want to touch on that I thought was super powerful when we connected is that you never saw yourself starting a food company, a meal delivery service like you did that focuses on health and everything. But really, it sparked because you were trying to seek your own healthiness, right? And that's kind of what started the seed.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd gotten into bodybuilding, and prior to getting into bodybuilding, I was doing solar sales and project management for a company I was involved in. And I was driving all over the Bay Area, and like, what's on the road? Nothing good, like nothing healthy, nothing convenient. And I mean, we all know healthy eating is never convenient. Otherwise we'd all be healthy. We deal with obesity and diabetes right now because, drive-throughs are the easiest, most accessible thing. And so I started, gaining that, like I was skinny fat. I was a skinny dude, which is this like pregnant belly. And I was like, okay, this is not good. I had bad energy. This energy you see here was not here. Like I would try to get up, but it was like, man, like I'm 24 and I have this sluggishness. Like this is not right. I'm at back of my seat in my car was full of monsters. Mm-hmm. And so I got into trying to learn more about food. And I remember one of my first posts that I ever posted about being healthy is still on my Instagram. And it's like a plain chicken breast with like an asparagus and a side of like Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. Like I thought I was being healthy. And I mean, it kind of was, right, in some ways. And it was just this kind of like, all right, I have this problem. I need to solve this. And I just went on this journey of learning. And as I started to find more about, find out more about food, started to learn how like food changed my mood. It changed my energy levels. It changed how I slept. Like so much of how I was. Like I like to say I used to be very emotional, but I was a very emotional person. And I found that my emotions were no longer nearly as volatile, like in the sense of the ups and the downs, when I was eating better. I was like, oh my gosh, like so much of my life has just kind of like smoothed out because I've improved by eating. Like all these other areas of my life kind of just came together. And so that just furthered me into that journey. And then once again, like it was just finding an opportunity. I realized that this was a massive need for a lot of people. And I like to say any business opportunity should be thought about rather so much about the problems that you have. Like, I mean, yeah, I was looking for a business at the time, right? I was looking for a business opportunity, but I focused on like, is there a problem? And like, is there a group of people that need that problem to be solved? And like, once I could identify that, yes, there is a problem, there is not a solution for a convenient, healthy food option. And there is a group of people that need that. Like, okay, perfect. Let's launch this business. And at the time, Modesto was the 5th most unhealthy city in the country. So, you could call me crazy or say, I was perfectly timed for a massive need. And now we've launched multiple other businesses here. Not me, but like the people here in the city of Modesto. There's another meal prepping, or actually, there's 3 other meal prepping companies in the city of Modesto. There's another one in the next town over. There's like 4 vegan places. None of these places existed prior to GoFresh. And I'm not saying taking full credit, but it's just seeing how the wave of health has really transitioned in a community where health was not even at all on the forefront. Our first health inspector told us we'd actually fail because Modesto doesn't do health, So that'll tell you what kind of thought about health was here in our community.
No, and I love that. And what's important, right, on that thing is like you're rocking and rolling, you're expanding, and then March, like holy crap, and that kind of changed the whole game. Or to look at it from the complex, it actually gave y'all a leg up if you seize the opportunity, correct?
Exactly, and we were positioned because we did have a digital platform. We've been doing online ordering, since the very beginning. We were prepared for takeout. Not too much change. We did have to shut down one of our stores in the very beginning. I mean, the first 2 months were a little challenging because just people didn't know. But one of the best things that we did was, and I suggest anybody do this, is just decide what you're going to do. Like, I mean, I know, and I'm not here to get like political and say, hey, what, you should break all the laws, right? But I think at some point we have to just make our decision and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And, I was in business in 2008, or I was, in the workforce in 2008. So at the time I was working for the city of San Ramon, and they did furloughs and hiring cuts, and they were doing layoffs. And so I got to see firsthand some of my coworkers lose their jobs. And so I experienced the pain in the economy. And I wasn't sure, hey, am I about to see that? Like, what am I about to see here? And I had some other managers on my team that were a little concerned. And there was a lot of people that were just like, our whole team was nervous, right? And there was chitter chatter going on throughout the organization of just fear. And I called our whole management team in on a Sunday afternoon. I said, hey guys, we got to meet today. Like, everybody come here at this time. And I said, hey, this is the game plan. And this was like March, I don't know, whatever that first Sunday of March was. I just said, this is what we're going to do. we were supposed to be at the Natural Foods Expo in Anaheim that week, and it had got canceled. So I knew everything was coming, like follow the money, right? This is not just a government's conspiracy when you're seeing billion-dollar, events get shut down. So I was like, all right, something's about to come. This is what we're going to do. And so we had already made a decision exactly what we were going to do. We rolled out the plan. So our whole team was very confident. We started communicating everything, and we really just created a new direction for the organization. We cut what wasn't working. And let's be honest, it was one of the best opportunities that allowed us to see what, some of us knew was already actually happening in our organization. Sometimes we see bloat, but we don't know how to address it. And this allowed us to really refocus the business and, really define who we're serving and how we're serving them. And it allowed us to really be able to grow our business. And it's been a blessing ever since.
And this is the way I describe it. Like guys, you listen to the podcast and I can tell you about the 9 different things that have happened to me this year. That's not important, but what it allowed me to do, and I think this is what you're alluding to and why everything is how you look at it, is it allowed me to remove the bloat in my life, the distractions in my life that are too hard to see when you're humming along. And so a check stop, a big event, in somebody's life, a heart attack, it shouldn't have to get to that point, but sometimes you're moving so fast that you don't see these things. And so really and look, there's not one part about me that is happy about anybody getting sick or anything that happened. But I still will look back on this year as the best year of my life because it will define the way I attacked it and shifted who I was. And I think you'll probably feel the same way about your company.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were just listening to, I talk a lot about John C. Maxwell, but my retail team is a little bit younger in management experience. So I'm big on playing some John C. Maxwell. And I was listening yesterday to the five levels of leadership video with him. And he was talking about how momentum is like the greatest problem solver. It'll solve all problems. But like basically, piggybacking on what you're just saying, momentum can also allow you to be blinded or, blind you from seeing the things that you're like, man, I really should probably address that. But Dan, we're going so fast that maybe that's going to just ride for a little bit. We're going to let that hang on for a little bit, and this allowed us, that March and April period allowed us to really slow down so we could speed up. It was like the perfect 6 to 8 week period that we got to retool. And like you said, I don't want to discredit this period, for the people that have lost family members and loved ones and people haven't gotten sick. And it's been challenging, right? Don't get me wrong about that at all. Like this has been an extremely challenging period. But it hit me the other night, like if 2020 was the year of challenge, we're 20 days away from it being over.
Yeah.
So that means 20 days away from being, we're through what was supposed to be the most difficult period. So if we survive that, we ideally should come out a better version of ourselves. So if you can shift your mind into that to think wow, I'm a better version of myself prior to this, no matter where I'm at, this is that shifts your mind into thinking in an opportunistic way. And that's going to allow you to be more powerful and create new opportunities and see things differently than, wow, 2020 ruined me. Man, if you survived, literally even survived, job or no job, survived 2020, man, you are a better version of yourself. You persevered. You went through some shit, no matter who you are. You went through something. And whether you worked at the grocery store and you worked normal 40 hours, you saw some things, you went through some things. We all went through stuff. And so if you think that this year was challenging, shifting your mindset into realizing that, man, this was the greatest year of challenge and opportunity and growth, that the person on the other side of this is a better version, it gave me freedom to realize that 2021 is about to be a badass year.
100%. And something I want to touch on, because I think it's important because it's helped me out a lot in my career, is, you have a group called the Level Up Society, but I want to tell you my perspective of it from an outside party member.
Please.
A lot of my life, because it's what I do, is real estate. I think real estate's an amazing vehicle, but your group, it has a vibe, I wouldn't say stun us, but maybe so. These are some dudes really crushing it. But what I'm jealous of is that you have such a scope of so many different businesses, I feel like you can really learn, and that's my knock on real estate investors is they only hang out with real estate investors, but there's stuff to be learned. You got guys in solar, you have actors, you have, and I think there's something to be said to that, right? Where you can kind of catch maybe things, they can see something in your business that you can't see because they're in a different aspect of business, correct?
100%. Well, and the evolution of the entrepreneur nowadays is you're not this one singular industry. You know what I mean? Like that you and I can find commonalities, even being in different industries, and go, hey, you know what? There was this opportunity I saw last week that I think you would be great to link up with. Like, you know what I mean? Like we may end up doing business together in something totally different than what we have any experience in right now. And that's one of the coolest things. And that's really what Level Up was really there to be created as. It started a little over 2 years ago. Our first event was December 12th, 2018. And I'm like, shoot, like literally almost 2 years ago was our first event. It was called Conversation About Content. And the reason I launched it was because I saw these events happening in LA and like Miami, New York. And I was like, I need this in my life. Like I need this. Mm-hmm. And for probably a year and a half, I was like, man, I want to launch this. And I just kept putting it off because I thought I'm not the guy. I who am I? And then finally I said, just like, fuck it. Like one day I literally just posted on Instagram, like, I'm going to do this. And somebody messaged me right away. I was like, what can I do to help? I was like, whoa. Like somebody wants to help me. Like it was within, like, I'm not talking like less than a minute. And so shout out Diane Flores. Huge, just supporter and just like made me believe that like, okay, we can do this. And so we launched the first event and we sold out the event. It was like 60 people. Next event, we sold it out. It was 80 people. I was actually at Diane's gym. And then we took a little time off, about a year, and we came back with it February 29th, right before the Rona hit. And I mean, we were handshaking and high-fiving and hugging everybody. And then like 7 days later, the world's closed down. Yeah. But, we wanted this year coming into it, and why we threw this event was really our goal was to create a community. Little did we know that Corona would hit, and that the greatest thing we did was like take this amazing event and like create a digital platform. But literally like a week before the event, I said, I just feel like we need to build something like bigger. Like we didn't even know we were going to call it Level Up Society. We knew it was going to be a conversation about content. And I was like, I need to keep this going. Like so much energy is coming from this. And every time I threw an event, there was just the community would grow and grow and grow. The community was just through my page. And so then one night, Diego, my videographer, and I were just sitting here and I was like, dude, Level Up Society. Like, we got to just start something. And he's like, bro, that name. And that was like, it literally just came to me and we're just like, all right, let's do this. And the goal was to create a community of people that could help support each other. Like, we didn't care about what industry you're in. It's like, what can I do to help? Like, that's what I want. Like, that's literally, if I could define what Level Up Society is, it's just that mindset. Like, what can I do to help? Like, how can I support you to achieve your goals? And it's been so awesome to see the different guests of podcasts. I mean, hey, this podcast literally is here because of Level Up Society, Matthew Foster. And so, and I see that constantly. I've seen business partnerships. Two of my buddies were just living together that met through Level Up Society. I mean, like all types of stuff that end up coming. Just the last mastermind we have 2 businesses that got launched from there with partners that met at that event. The solar guys, the mortgage guys. I mean, we had Lambos and McLarens there. I mean, like everybody is just doing crazy things. And it's been so awesome just see this community be built. And I think the one thing I can just say, if I can give anybody any tip, is just do it. Like launch it. If you want to do something, go try it. Like if you want to be the guy or girl in the town, don't think that there's imposter syndrome. People are dying to have something like this, like an event like this or a meetup, and it could start with, hey, let's all meet up at a coffee shop this Saturday, right? My first event was $10 a ticket. Yeah. And our next one's about to be $449 a ticket. So like it doesn't have to start at $449, right? I started at $10 and was like, let's see if anybody shows up. Yeah. Like we had a couple chairs in one of my stores, right? I was like, let's just see what happens. And we ended up, I mean, like the windows were like sweaty. There were so many people in there. I mean, it was crazy. And what's happened, the impact that I've had, sometimes we think too much about ourselves instead of thinking about how we can impact the other people around us. And I think that's my biggest downfall that I had for that year and a half. While I was thinking about all the things that I was worried about personally, I didn't think about all the people that I could impact by creating this platform.
No, the only time my mindset goes shitty lately is when I think about what I deserve or what I'm going to get out of it. Yep. In the moment I switch into what can I who can I help? What can I do? Everything turns around. But, it's funny. We just had the promo video come out last night for our first event we did. And my buddy texts me. This is a true story. Just like you said, we're sitting there having Mexican food. And he's like, I'm so sick of Zoom. Let's have a fucking event. And so we called my financial advisor and he's like, give me a date. I'm flying down. So we just put it together, right?
Oh, yeah.
Are you ready for this? Next year, we have 9 cities we're doing it in already. Miami, Nashville, Denver, Austin, and we're coming to Tahoe. And I want to have Mr. Anderson speak at the event, dude. We're gonna
love to.
Yeah, so maybe we can do something together with your crew. But so that's what look. My big thing with everybody is in order to show up for something or show up for opportunity, you have to be available. And the available to take advice from another entrepreneur that might not be in your space, but sees holes in your life. You don't have to get rude. He's not being rude. He's just saying like, this is what I see. But in order to do that, you have to take feedback. And one of the number one things that my ex-business partners or anybody that meets me, they go, we give you feedback at 9 o'clock at night. At 7 a.m. the next morning, you're already a different person. They're like, because, and you know what he said to me that changed my life? You're going to be all right.
Yeah.
He's like, because you're constantly growing. He said, it might not always be perfect, but you're never satisfied and you're happy to change if the feedback makes sense to you. And I think that skill can take you anywhere you need to go.
Absolutely. You have to be hungry to grow, man. It's, I think whenever I feel confronted, when somebody's like talking to me and I feel like, I feel any type of way, like where you're just like you know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't even know how to describe it. You just feel that like, your heart starts racing. You could get a little twitch in your eye and you're like about to go at them. You're like, what are you talking about? And it's in that moment that you're like, I need to shut up and listen. You know what I mean? Like, this is clearly a point that my ego is getting there. And it was something in my early age, dude.
True story. I'm riding in Tahoe with Matty A, my mentor, and he starts in on my finances and I get clammy and start titching. And he's like, obviously you're not ready. And he just backed off because it's true. He knows that's a sensitive subject through me because I was getting divorced and so on. But from him, I'll take any advice because I respect the man he is. Yeah. So we have to check ourselves sometimes and sit back, Yeah,
100%. Well, sometimes we're willing to hear it from Matty, but am I willing to hear it from Matt, Matt Foster? You know what I mean? I'm like, whoa, Matt, I thought we were homies. The person that you look at as a mentor, you're willing to take that from. But when you look at somebody as a friend, maybe you're not. But you, man, I don't want to surround myself with people that aren't willing to hold that line for me. You know what I mean? Sure. I expect my friends to call me out when I'm doing something stupid. Mm-hmm. If you catch me acting a fool, then hey, Billy, what are you doing, man? I see you doing some stupid stuff. Sure. Are you sure you're doing the right thing? Sure. And that's what you want. I think, I just did an episode of my podcast the other day. It was setting the standard. And it's I think in this current world, so many people have forgot what a standard is. Mm-hmm. And if the standard of the way we are is that I'm going to continue to grow, then when you really fully embody that person, you're willing to hear the thing that you don't want to hear. And you're willing to start to become self-aware, like you and I just acknowledged, is in these moments where we're like, whoa, do not go there. But you're like, shit, we got to go there. Eventually I got to confront this.
Well, I mean, perfect example. I have a new coach. I met him at an event and he's a corporate coach, 15 years. There's no bullshit. He texted me the other day. He's like, great, you signed some clients. He's like, I haven't even pushed you yet. He goes, just wait. He's like, we're going to get you really uncomfortable. And there's a part of you that wells up and gets nervous, but I welcome that because I welcome that of myself. Yeah. Right. And my favorite saying Matt's ever said in Matty A is I'm a nice guy, but my standards aren't.
Yeah.
Right. True, and so think about it this way. I'm doing 75 hard right now. I've got 7 more days left. So you know what I decided to do? I'm going to do it for 365 days straight because you got to understand if my default setting is 75 hard every day, then where can I go? Right.
Yeah.
My default setting is my standards of myself, not anybody else, of myself are this high. And that's where we're going to start. So I know that my day is going to start off like on top. And so, to all the young entrepreneurs out there, to all the young investors, through all the stuff that you've been through all the different businesses, if you could highlight, 2 to 5 or 3 things that you would want to tell them they need to focus on moving into the new year, what would that be?
Preparation. Preparation creates clarity. Clarity creates confidence. Confidence creates results, or creates action. Action creates results. So preparation is key. I'm huge on planning. Every Sunday I invest at least 4 to 6 hours. I'm going to Tahoe actually next week with my wife. And we're taking the week, and 2 of those days are fully dedicated to planning 2021. Sorry. And just like mapping things out. Now, granted, like tons of stuff is already mapped out. The company goals are all mapped out, but we're going to dive into personal things that we want for our relationship. We're going to, spirituality, health, wealth, every aspect. We're going to dive deep into that. So preparation is key. I think too many people wait till January 1st and they have no idea what to do on January 1st. But when you have the proper preparation, you can enjoy your New Year's Eve because you already know, when 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever time your day, begins, not necessarily what time you wake up, but what time it begins, you're like, all right, this is what I got to do. You already have that first action step. But so often people wake up hungover on January 1st and go, oh my God, like, what do I got to do today? And so I go to bed on the 31st every year, sleeping great because I know exactly what tomorrow morning when I wake up, I know what I need to execute. And I suggest everybody does that every single day. We should treat every day like it's January 1st. You need to plan before the day begins or plan before the year begins. Patience, just keep doing it. Have that patience to keep going. I think with that, you have to have metrics that you're tracking, because if you patience without metrics can lead you to no results. I think patience with metrics allows you to actually properly grow because you're actually seeing what you're being patient on. A lot of times people are like, I've been doing it for 6 years. And you're like, but you haven't done anything for 6 years. Like, yes, you've had this business on Instagram, but you know what I mean? Like, you've had your real estate license, but you haven't sold a home,
Billy, true story. I used to work in the music business, and I remember where I was, El Campo, Texas. Nobody ever wants to be there, trust me. But we're riding in the van back from Sunday. I'm working 3 jobs at the time, 2 in the restaurant business, 1 in the music business. And I go, dude, I told the lead singer, I'm crushing it, man. I got 3 businesses. And he looked me dead in the face and said, you're not going anywhere. And that was the moment that I was like, shit, I need to get my stuff together. Because sometimes we relate, being busy with actual getting stuff done, and we're not really doing it.
Yeah. And that's one of the most important things with the metrics is that we can actually identify, like, are we actually creating success? Okay, yeah, you post, you want to build a brand. Okay, you post 100 posts a week, but you're getting 2 likes. Mm-hmm. Like what did, or hey, you're getting 1 million likes, but like, you want to sell product, like, like, what is it your objective? And so if we're chasing vanity metrics, like I have people that I coach that have podcasts and things, and they're like, my podcast is growing. I'm like, awesome. Okay. But you haven't promoted the company on the podcast. Like, you don't, like, there's nothing, I don't even know what you do on your podcast. Like, it's great the podcast is growing, but you're not funneling people to the business. And that's what the podcast is supposed to do, is funnel people, and so you have to understand what it is that you're trying to grow. Like, getting back to finances, that's been a huge thing that I've been tackling this year. I really wanted to I wanted to make my money work for me. I wanted to create more streams of income, and that actually generated true profit, not like my options account that was losing me money, right? And so I had to identify, like, okay, what are the KPIs to be able to produce these results? What are the metrics that I want to track? Is it my monthly income? Is it like, okay, well, if it's passive income that I want to grow, then I need to track passive income, not just my income, because if I'm landing new coaching clients or, whatever, I'm getting a bonus from GoFresh or anything like that, that's not necessarily showing growth in the area that I want to grow. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just extra money. Like, when you talked about landing coaching clients and things like that, like, that's awesome. But if your goal is to grow your passive income, you could think, hey, I did an awesome job because I made more money this month than I did last month, but you actually didn't make anything passively. And so then we get done with the year and we look back and we go, man, I didn't create any passive income. Yes, I made more, but I didn't make any passive income. So then the next year comes around and We're sitting in the same spot going, okay, I want to change my goal, or I want to change my life this year. And a lot of times I think too, with our goal planning, we want to change our whole life in 30 days. Hey, new year, new me. I want to lose 30 pounds in my first 30 days. Like, that's great. But like, you can't change your life in 30 days. And I think that's the most important thing about having a long-term vision is when you know where you're going long-term, you're able to break it down. And so you can really put things on in perspective and understand that, okay, maybe this year, yes, my life goal is to make $1 million a year, but like this year, really 50,000 is okay. But so often people are like, I'm making $1 million this year. And you're like, yeah, but you made 40,000 last year. Like, what are you doing that you're making 960,000?
Yes.
And that's like and I don't mean to bash network marketing, but that was the thing I used to hear all the time in network marketing. I was one of those guys. And I think this is why planning is so essential, is when you're actually able to identify like what the goals are. And then you actually sit down and go, how am I going to achieve those goals? And start to break those yearly goals down into monthly goals or quarterly goals into these smaller goals. And you're like, oh, wait, I got to do all this in January and like all that. And then you can start to go like, am I really going to do this? Well, no, okay, you're not going to do that. Okay, then let's scale it back. Okay, so if you're scaling that back, where else is that going? And like, let's get realistic about what we can actually do. And I just think it's a lot of like these smoke and mirror type goals. And when we actually can put it down on paper and build it out, that's where success comes. Because if we can identify those hurdles, those speed bumps, or where we need money, or where we need skills or knowledge or resources, we're able to identify them 6, 12 months down the road. Like I'm working with some of my coaching clients right now, and it's like, okay, so what's your goals? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, for the next year. And they're like, well, like, I'm thinking like, I want to do this. Okay, cool. You want to do that revenue, but like, how are we going to get there? And then you can start to identify, like, do you need more money? Because right now you have no money in the bank account, but you want to do $1 million next year. Like, how are we going to buy product, flip that, turn that over? Like, we can't flip it enough. Like I remember when Shreds, the supplement company, would like claim that they had taken like, I think it was like $80,000 in credit card debt and turned it into $100 million in revenue in 12 months. It was like literally impossible math. Like it would be that they were like flipping it like every day. They were buying and flipping more supplements and buying and flipping and buying and flipping. And there's no way in manufacturing time that you can do that. And so we see these crazy success stories and think that's what we need to do. But that's not the reality of life.
Well, what's interesting, what I make my clients do is I make them, like, when you set goals and you envision like a car or a home that you want, I make them pick out colors.
Yeah.
Like I want to get so granular on this, like, so exactly, like, I want this car, it's going to be blue. I want 3 houses in this place on this street. Like Ed Milet talks about, dude, I was walking along the beach broke as shit. I didn't say I want a house somewhere over here. I said I want a house right there. And he did it. And so like, you have to get real clear.
Yeah, and like going back to, I can't remember if we talked about it on the pod before we recorded, but the vision board that you were talking about with your client, like that stuff works. Like sometimes it seems cheesy and like, I don't know, I don't need that. You know who tells me that? Broke people, like people that don't have what they want. You know what I mean? Like I've never heard successful people that are like, yo, I used to be broke and I had a vision board and that didn't come true. Like nobody says that. Like nobody's like, hey, they're like, I was broke, I had a vision. I manifested that over and over and over, like, and like, look at what happened.
Bro, I heard a story from one of my mentors who's like OG in Keller Williams. Like, he's the man, dude. He lives up north of Tahoe. He wrote a list like 45 years ago of like 100 things he wanted to do. He's accomplished like 89 of them. Like, it's like real. Like, it's not, he wrote out like, this is where I'm going to live. And like, this was when he was like 20. He's now like 70 something. Like, he hit every one of those things.
I think a lot of it too is like the state of mind you're in. And like when you said, like when you dig into those questions with colors, it allows you to like really embody that goal. And I think a lot of times people are like, I want a Ferrari. And you're like, yeah, okay, we all want a Ferrari. But like when you really get into it, you're like, actually, like I'm looking at buying a Range Rover right now. I'm like customizing it. I'm like, well, actually, I hate that color now. Like, but it was the color I used to like, And like when you really start to like dive into something, you decide, do I really want this? Like, or is this just like this thing I think I want? Like when you could really define your goals with that vision board, a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year vision statement, like, all these different things or lists or whatever. When you really take on the task and not bullshit it, not like that, like, oh, I'm gonna just write something down, but like really like put yourself there, I think that's when you can eliminate the emotion of the moment of like, oh yeah, I want this fancy thing, and really get down to like, what do I want from life? Because clearly, the person that you're talking about here with this list didn't write down like, I want a Lambo, like, in these like short-term, broke, emotional, like, yeah, I want all the material things. There were things in there that were very thought out things, non-emotional things that you want to achieve in life. And so I think that's why we go up to Tahoe. That's like, this is the first year that we've like fully like immersed ourselves in a different place and like rented a cabin to do this. But it's like, we want to continue to grow our planning and our vision. Like, why am I going to go invest, over $1,000 for technically just the 2 days of the trip for goals and visions? Because that shit makes me a lot of money. Yeah. Like, that creates the life I want. Not just makes me a lot of money. Like that if we're talking straight, like money invested, time invested, like, yes, it does return. But like, that gives me time with my wife, which creates happiness for her. It creates, empowers her to go run her businesses and create more success for her. Gives me time with my family, who I love, like, that I don't get a ton of time with. Gives me more time with my team, so I can help develop them, create success for them, create more opportunities for them. Allows me to invest time with the people that I've invested in their businesses and help them grow as CEOs. Help invest in my coaching business. Like, the thing when you're able to plan is it allows you to execute better. When you're able to execute better, it allows you to create better results for yourself and those around you. And so when you think about it from that standpoint, it's not just about pulling the big paychecks. It's about creating better results for everybody around you.
No, 100%. I think what's super important, and I don't care, call me make-believe, call me ridiculous, but I truly believe that regardless of what you're shooting at, meaning if you want to, be the best Abercrombie salesman, if you put 100% of your focus on it and you go day in and day out, I promise you will be successful. Consistent. In the moment, and the consistent. And people have to understand this. So tomorrow I release my 100th episode on my podcast in 8 months. I think I'm taking the title for the fastest one ever. But I only say that to say this. Nobody says, oh man, I listened to every episode. They say, holy shit, dude, you are consistent as shit. That's what people show up for, is the consistency, because you're staying in front of mind.
I think this term that I used to get from Prepaid Legal was the network marketing company I was in, now called Legal Shield. I love it. I still have the service, but I got tons of my acronyms and great little sayings, but they used to say, stick and stay and you'll earn your pay. And what I learned is it's about consistency. You have to stick and stay every day. It's not like, okay, today you're going to podcast, tomorrow you're going to put a YouTube video up, tomorrow, then the next day it's TikTok, and the next day it's LinkedIn. No, consistently sticking with a platform and building and building and building and building. Like, I love when people are telling me like, oh, like, should I go build on TikTok? Should I go build it? Like, just build on one. Like, just get whatever it is, whether it be building your brand or whatever, just get consistent.
Dude, the Godfather, Russell Brunson, I've read his books. They changed my life. Expert Seekers, Traffic Seekers. I don't even build ClickFunnels. I don't care. But in business, he says, stop putting it on 7 platforms and just focus on one and just build it there and understand where your audience congregates, right? And that's what people need to understand. Well, I want to respect your time. If they want to find out about your podcast, a group, how do they find out about that stuff?
Yeah. So my podcast is Level Up Your Life Podcast. It's on all platforms. You can find me on Instagram, Billy_GoFresh, or you can find the Level Up Society is _Level Up Society, and then GoFresh is @GoFresh.
So guys, there's no chance that me and this guy don't do some sort of business later on. But here's the deal though. If I'm coming out of retirement and the restaurant business, we're going for the gusto. So I'm thinking mastermind event with like trapeze people in the Mediterranean islands on a couple catamarans.
Ooh, I'm down. That's perfect. That's my kind of event.
For sure. Guys, if you like this episode, make sure you send it to your friends. We appreciate y'all for listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.